Was there a transaction or a client that you met along your commercial real estate experience that made you say, you know what, it's time to marry my love for policy with my current role?
I can't think of a particular transaction, but I can think of hundreds because it seems to affect all of them. Wetlands, Kim mentioned. We have a lot of water in our world. I think Alabama has 10% of the nation's rivers, which is going to prove very valuable as we go forward in time. But flood is a major issue, and that is one that affects transactions, and policy affects flood a lot. And the waters of the United States is the way water is defined, and there are rules about it, and they're significant. And then we have slope ordinances where we have colluvial soil, which is not stable, and therefore, if there's a percent grade of a slope, you can't build on it, or you have to comply with restrictions and such, and that can affect a transaction. And then zoning, of course, is government, and zoning affects many transactions for properties that are in municipalities. Or no zoning is a policy issue, and that affects properties that aren't in a municipality. So what do you mean you're putting a pigsty next to my house? Well, there's no zoning. I can do what I want. That's a policy issue. So it affects all transactions. And once you understand the breadth of the transactions and what you're dealing with, you see that policy affects so many things. As I say about commercial real estate to people who are interested in pursuing it, there's just a lot to know. There is so much to know, and the policy piece is one of them. You don't know that the government won't let you do that. You don't know that they won't let you put a turn lane or a access onto a road within 300 feet of a stoplight. You don't know all of these rules that affect the value of a property, affect its marketability, and there's just a lot to know. You don't know that if a property doesn't have the right size staircases, then it can't be used for assembly, or you can't use it for residential, and maybe it's an obsolete building and you can't change the staircase. Well, you have to know that policy rule to know that building that looks great and like it may be a wonderful conversion to residential, well, you can't because the staircases aren't adequate for fire safety and there's no real reasonable way to build them. So that's another policy application to a building and how it works. They're everywhere. They're constant. It's in every deal. And once you recognize that, then you try to learn as much about policy and about these rules because they affect your advice and your counseling to clients as well as your own personal decisions in investing. So as I got in organizations and I found that they had excellent policy groups that were teaching me things and bringing me up to speed so I could be better at my job and my work, I got involved. And yes, I am an old policy guy from a long time, second generation perhaps at this point, but it really affects business. And if you ignore it because you find it unseemly, then you are not paying attention to the nuances that can influence valuation, timing, money, the whole works.